There we go. So we're gonna do a welcome. Hopefully pizza will show up, everybody can eat. Talk about our session. I don't know why that's in here. This was done kind of a little bit last minute because I'm lazy and I was more busy over the holidays than I tend to do. And then we're gonna just kind of talk about the different things that have happened in the year for the Power Platform. I have been doing Power Platform pretty much since it came out. Ralph has been fully engaged in it since it came out. Ralph knows more than anybody that I know about the Power Platform. I think I know a lot about it, but Ralph is probably second to the product group in knowing.
Pretty much.
Yes, and if you have a licensing question, so a lot of this will be just us talking about what we know, what has happened in the year, where we think it might be going. Open invitation from the field to comment on your experiences, what you've seen with it. We wanted to keep it kind of light and informal since it's the year end. But we do have slides. So again, my name is Craig Janke. I am Vice President of Advanced Digital Solutions for EXL. EXL is what are we? We're a consulting firm. We also do a lot of, we do consulting and we do a lot of staff augmentation. So EXL in and of itself is probably bigger in AWS, Amazon, all those technologies. More recently moving into Microsoft. So I was hired to build our Microsoft practice.
They had Microsoft Envy.
Yeah, they had Microsoft Envy. Well, a lot of our customers were saying, well, it's great. You can build this in AWS and you can build this with Appian and you can build it with UiPath, but we have M365 licenses and Power Platform licenses. How do we do it? Because we have this really cool enterprise solution that we want and we love, but we need it to be low code and for free. So I don't know if anybody's experienced that, but it's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to make happen. But we're trying. So before that, me and Ralph worked briefly together. Danny and I worked together. I was at Reply where I was leading a practice there. Danny was one of my developers, so I would refer to Danny. Actually, Danny is like a BA/developer/customer service extraordinary. Danny is one of the nicest, happiest guys I've ever met in my entire life.
Your LinkedIn paid off.
Yes. Before that, I was at Microsoft for 3 years. Before that, I was at Concurrency, which is more of a local agency, and me and Anthony worked together, but Anthony, I will let him tell more about himself. And so I started this Power Platform. Me and Ralph actually started this group about 5 years ago now. When I was at Concurrency, it's been about 5 years ago.
That's right.
We were doing in-person meetings and broadcasting it live
From the beginning.
And then COVID happened, and then we have been pretty much doing virtual. So we haven't had too many live sessions, so we're still working the kinks on that. Just because nobody wanted to travel.
Okay. Well, there we go.
Now I'm going to pass it to Ralph.
Well, jeez.
Ralph, tell us about yourself.
A whole bunch of stuff. Ralph Rivas. Okay, so some of you probably know me, heard me, can't hear enough or anything else like that. With Sagetti, essentially a part of Capgemini. Make it easy over here.
Ralph, over here by the camera.
We are a partner. Let's get on the video over here.
There you are.
1 second. There I am. How about we say got it on the screen? There we go. So we're a major partner, which the good thing about it, is I do have also an MVP status in Power Platform, but the good thing about it is that I get sometimes to hear the same information twice. Once as a partner, once as an MVP. It's like, hey, weren't you at the last meeting? Yes. Tell me again so I can understand it better. Or better, when one says, I had to cancel the meeting because, stakeholders, the other meeting will take place. So I get to not miss stuff. Ooh, great advantage over here. The Power Platform stuff slipped in because I'm normally a cloud architect. And working in the cloud just so happens to have this little thing called M365. Somebody wants to make stuff work on it. And way back in the day, they wanted to try to do some people wanted to do some SharePoint stuff, migrate from on-prem to the stuff that was coming up online. But they were not ready to do it. It's like, well, we're going to stay on-prem for a while. And then so they asked us, well, can you do what they do online? You can just set up your own SharePoint. Oh, So what do? We had to set up VMs. Okay, we asked for machines. Can we have some machines? Nope, can't. And then we found out it was very cheap and easy, and you don't really have to ask permission until they find out later and get mad at you. That's okay. Start an account in Azure or in Cloudflare, or all the different ones. We started them up, installed SharePoint there, made it work, got our things done. And then $5,000 later, what the heck is this bill? Well, we just did what was going to normally have costed 50 or 60 grand. You may want to pay, just saying, right? And so that was where I came in on the cloud side because of M365, because of SharePoint, because I was doing SharePoint before. The Power Platform bits came in as part of that. At the time, when we started the user group, it was still early. In fact, nobody really thought it was going to be at that level. Everyone was like, well, another Microsoft product that's just going to be in that mix, and there was better products going on at the time.
Yeah, we just thought it would be a straight up info path replacement.
Yeah, and so that's really what the idea was like. Well, what are you going to replace InfoPath with? Well, about that. And by the way, there's still a deadline. You know, it's going to happen. But what's your plan? Well, about that plan. So we figured that was going to be the plan. We just made a bet. That's before you started working for Microsoft.
Yeah.
Before I got any kind of NDA or nothing, we just simply made a bet and guessed. Well, as it turned out, should have put more money on it or maybe paid the lotto instead of playing this, because we were lucky on that. Because that did grow. And you guys are here as proof, wanting to know about it. And everything that happened in the last year probably is proof that, well, low code, I think, is the entrance to whatever is going on right now. If you want to find a faster way to AI, the fastest way, besides just talking to it, you know, having a nice conversation, sit down with your AI, is to probably use the low code tools. Right, so that's where I'm coming in from the architect, the enterprise level to make it work, right? But it's again, it's to me the community is where I get the best ideas, the best prompts, the best all the pieces. The folks that are, let's just say, not too concerned about the bottom line dollars for things to happen, tend to come up with some of the better ideas, and that's what I get to bring that a little bit back. So that's the reason why I'm here. And we just wanted to have a celebration sort of this year. That's why we have some stuff at the back over here. And by the way, if you want drinks and stuff, the Microsoft refrigerators do have drinks for things like that. And if somebody wants us to open up one of the Reds, we will, if necessary. We will do that. Not a problem. What else we got to talk about? Let's turn it over now to
Anthony,
our host with the most, Senor Escobedo, Anthony.
It's always funny following these guys because they're such great hosts for myself as well. So I'm here. I've worked with Craig in the past. Ralph and I have known each other just from the community, and so I'm happy to have everybody here. A great turnout for today, and happy to really work through the Power Platform, kind of the annual review. It's one of the best ones, I'd say. At the end of the year, you get to soak up a lot of the latest and greatest of what's happening in the Power Platform. I've been working with Microsoft for 2 years, Power Platform for 8. I run the Milwaukee user group as well, so that's why we've gotten to know each other pretty well over time, and also worked with Craig in the past. So happy to be here. Happy you guys are here. And
Great.
Yeah.
CSA.
what was that? Oh, and I'm a CSA at Microsoft, so here that's why I'm hosting.
Cloud Solution Architect, right?
Cloud Solution Architect.
Everybody uses
Yeah,
acronyms. at
everyone's
Microsoft.
got the cloud.
Everybody, yeah, there's like a different acronym every year, so I don't expect you guys to know what that is. So just I work with the Power Platform.
I started, when I was at Microsoft, I was a premier field engineer, then a customer engineer, and then a cloud solution architect, and my role did not change. So
They just the
they
name
just
changed.
changed the name they left premier field engineer because Amazon and Google have customer engineers, and they felt the salespeople didn't know how to make that equivalent. It was
Right out of Fargo, the names were changed to protect the.
the innocent. Do we want to go around?
All right,
You
we can
go.
go around really quick. Just say
Quick.
just a quick thing about yourself over here. This is something that we normally do on the live one over here, so this might go a little bit long, but that's okay. We're relaxed. Again, if you're under witness protection, feel free to say witness protection and point to the next person next to you.
You
It's
started out.
okay. So let's start from the front. Okay. So hopefully everyone got at least something. And nobody is completely out. Don't worry.
They're solid.
Now that we know, we can do this kind of attendance.
Pretty good.
Maybe we'll get Lumonati's to sponsor us next time. When are you following us? You know?
What do they use it for? I was gonna say.
I know. They live in the living, so you understand.
On its site, maybe 3 times.
Maybe get the Wiener Circle or Portillo's to do the same thing.
The time you gotta go. Section.
Or Super Dog. Speaking of Super Dog, let's go ahead then and start with the news. Just relax. We'll begin here in just a second. And
We're
we'll
ready
go
whenever
through
you want.
the news.
Do we have news?
I guess in a relaxed way. Yep, I know what's next. That's why I reviewed it.
Oh, no, I mean, did you want to just address?
Yeah.
The
No.
slide at all?
So folks, everyone has seen the Power Platform University before. This, you know, the latest slides, by the way, there is a place to get these latest icons as SDGs. I call it the monthly updating of the Microsoft slide, team, because Microsoft seems to change the logo every month. And they know it. I wish that could be automated. Maybe I can create an automation for that. I don't know, but definitely a job for Copilot. Speaking of Copilot, the biggest change is all my, Power Virtual, PVA all the way t-shirts that I made. I had to throw them all out because they decided to change their name to Copilot Studio. Thank you so much. And I was talking to them the whole year. I said, let's make t-shirts for PVA all the way. And they're like, yeah, I'm smiling, you know, and I'm like, yeah, knowing full well that they were going to change the name to Copilot Studio. Why is it Copilot Studio? Here's the big difference. It went from, and I remember our company, Avanade and the rest, went back to Microsoft and said, hey, that PVA product is sort of like a toy to a lot of people, and people were treating it like a toy and really giving it much grip. But Avanade, Capgemini, all the other folks would go back and say, look, take your toy and put our stuff on it. This is what it should look like. And the folks were like, that's a good idea. So essentially, they had a medium, a low-code medium to enter the AI world. What did they used to have? They used to have Bot Studio. What was it? Bot Studio. It was the bot framework piece, all that stuff that they used to do. Let's just say in the arcane, you had to know your Azure portal stuff well. And they said, well, we can do the same thing over here. All we have to do is just drag and connect.
So as it's a recap, all these logos are new this year, right?
Yeah, pretty much. These are all cleaned up, fresh logos, except and maybe the Power Platform is a little bit kept its way. I mean, it got cleaner.
No, that was just introduced earlier this year though, right?
This stuff got introduced this year.
I mean, all these logos,
Well,
not necessarily the product, but
The
the
colors are
logos.
the same. They
The
haven't
colors.
changed.
I thought the logos were different.
No, but a lot of them are similar. The one, again, the big one, right over here. When they said that this is the way to get into the system, because the idea was we're going to have plugins. A plugin to do whatever you want. Well, if you can do whatever you want with it, is it still Power Platform?
You might want to, so I don't have names because I'm lazy and I forgot to put them here. But this is Power FX. So this is if you're developing, like the framework you're using for developing Power Apps. This is AI Builder. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Bringing AI, like the scanning, reading documents, all that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
you have to get the new logo. They have a logo for this new one.
That was the only one I could find.
You haven't done the monthly on this one. Yeah,
Sorry.
on this-
And that's all the connectors. So that's how you get your data.
The connector, correct. The Copilot Studio, the whole idea of the add-in concept means that now they can use it to do add-ins for anything, which in their case was M365 itself. What a big difference. Start with Power BI. What's the news over here? Enhancements. Well, I think the biggest thing with Power BI is it really is becoming part of Fabric. At some point, somebody's going to say, yeah, I know it's only with Power Platform right now, I think, as more sentimentality because it was the first power thing. If there's a whole Power Platform, it's the granddad of all the power pieces. It's been there from the very beginning, before Power Platform existed, before any of that, there was Power BI. So they had enhancements, they brought in a lot of the AI pieces, and now you can almost like ask it. You can now ask M365 Copilot to build you the dashboard and all that pieces from scratch. I mean, really from scratch, but of course, you have to have that license for the M365 Copilot for this, or the Fabric. They changed the licensing on this to the extent where like it's now free. What does it mean free? You have the client. You can connect to your own data sources. You can play with it to your heart's content. However, if you're going to do anything that touches the enterprise where people have to share your stuff, boom, license hit. But then they said, well, but you don't have to pay the license. It's still free. How is it still free? Well, if you have Fabric, oh, stop you there. Of course, if you have Fabric, you're paying premium for something somewhere. Yeah, we're gonna get this for free. So that was, to me, the biggest changes for Power BI.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I am not a Power BI guy, so. it's
I
not my
have,
thing.
well, I have to pay attention for it because I can't stand it when developers are building dashboards in Canvas apps and you're like trying to, I can't make this work. Just drag and drop, I'm done. Embed, go to sleep.
Yeah, it's a big deal in Dynamics because, you can stand up a Power BI dashboard
Yeah,
and you can, pull in your SAP data, pull in your SharePoint data,
exactly.
and then basically embed it,
That's the whole idea. Just embed it and you're done. You have all the visuals, you have all the tools for the data person over there. When you're doing it, I'm gonna call it I just want a quickie dashboard. I want that little pie. Maybe the pie will have a little animation or something, whatever you want to do. You can do that in the Canvas, but why would you have a power dashboard that does something like this? And maybe make a PCF controller, do something crazy to make that Power BI still. So big tip, Power BI is always going to have a home in any Power Platform application. Data first.
At first.
All right.
Power Apps.
Power Apps, okay. For Power Apps,
What's
two
new?
things actually happened over here. The modern controls has sort of like been diminished or quiet. As originally, the big news was going to be about the modern controls. They were going to the new Fluent 2, and you have to go and change your controls, and they're going to be themed, and all those parameters that you were used to using are not going to be where they are. They were going to move. They were not just moving the cheese. They were taking the cheese truck and transporting everything out of Wisconsin and Michigan. They were just changing all that for you. But they decided, okay, we're just going to move a few trucks at a time because this turns out to be hard and a lot of clients were impacted. All right, that aside, the biggest one though is when they put the Copilot in there. So almost early on, we saw the previews. Ask it to make an app. I mean, something originally is like very, not so good. It made a Dataverse table and it sort of messed up after 3 tries and things like that. I'm just going to say these are getting better and better and better. And unfortunately, you can't compare what you probably saw 3 months ago with what you're going to try to do today, right after you leave over here. It'll actually be a slightly different experience on what you get back. The one thing I will say about when you're making prompts for these, there's a place where you go, aka.ms/Power Platform Prompts. April Dunham has set up a public site for people. If you make a prompt that makes a Power App, and it's really good, and you want to share it to the community, post it up there. For that matter, before you make a prompt, what prompts have been very good before? Go there, find one, copy paste it into the prompt, make it happen.
So a lot of what I think was new this year on Power Apps, well, Copilot was
Besides
huge,
Copilot,
huge,
yeah.
was more on the back end. A lot of more with the governance and the administration on that and DevOps and bringing those kind of tools to really make Power Apps more powerful behind the scenes and allow organizations to scale them. Really, I can't say like they rolled out any new front end UI
This is a
development.
hard one to talk about because it covers all the Power Platform, right? It's essentially the whole ALM story is finally, it's solved. It used to be the biggest thing that was against it. UiPath had a much cleaner packaging way to like orchestrate. I'm going to take something that's in test and move it to production and move it through all the stages with environment variables and all that stuff going in, their version of it, that is. And that only happened, I think, on the Microsoft side in the last
Few months.
in the last few months. You have just about the last of the pieces in there, but pretty much only in the last year have they been coming out with the this is how to do it, and you can do it without having to hack it. Before you had to hack it, so people would write scripts or do something crazy to make it happen. You no longer have to hack it. I think the biggest one of that is called managed environments. Anyone know what managed environments is? Have you heard of that? Managed environments. What is the concept of managed environments? Managed environment says everything is all set up for you. The DLP, it's pipeline. So if you create an app somewhere, you push a button and it'll promote itself. And it'll take care of a whole bunch of other, let's just say, it'll be your butler and take care of a lot of your stuff. The catch is, because it uses Dataverse, anyone who has to use anything in that managed environment has to have a license, a premium license, the full level. The concept was, well, people are paying the premium license anywhere. Why not make a butler place for them to be? We could have done that. We didn't have to do it. We could have done it ourselves, like admin people. But they said, let's make this a thing so that it's now in the Power Platform Admin Center to click and push rather than somebody, again, cobbling the pieces together. That's a huge difference in how things are going. In the beginning, it was like, oh, wow, that's just a way for you to make us pay for licenses. Yeah. Yeah, it was. And then at the same time, like, oh, shoot, we are paying for licenses. Yeah, that's right. So we're not telling you to do anything more. We're not taking any more money from you. You've already paid for it. It's like you paid for it. You might as well get in the car because you already paid for the ride.
All right, Anthony wants to talk about this slide.
Yes.
He just threw it in there.
Oh, great.
I'll just keep sprinkling in some slides, but for this one specifically, like really tied into what Craig was saying and what Ralph was saying, but we did a lot of work on the back end in terms of, you know, the modern controls that you guys can turn on. It talks about that at the bottom. So they're still out in preview right now, so it's not something that we would recommend going into full production yet, but I mean, it mostly replaces the functionality as it is now. There are some settings that are not replaced just yet in the modern UI, but outside of that, a lot of the performance type things that we've been working on the back end, and then also you'll see a lot of differences that'll happen inside of the makers portal as well. So as you see, like AI's, you know, starting to delve into there a little bit. But overall, a lot of it is that performance side of things. You're going to see a lot of new controls that are coming in and with a lot of the same functionality, but it's going to be a lot more quick when you click on them, more responsive. Offline mode is another.
Oh yeah,
No more waiting 5 minutes for it to render.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that they've added, and I don't know if you guys have worked with, you know, the newer controls, like this one here, the barcode scanner. That's a newer one as well. So now it's using the native camera. So they're trying to, instead of rebuild everything, they're trying to build it more native into the functionality of the mobile devices.
The devices, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of cool stuff.
Under the cover stuff is what it is, and this is all being lost in the AI story. Oh, AI. Oh, by the way,
One of the things I'll caution on Power Apps and this whole low code platform, it's really easy to move from low code to pro code. And nobody talks about that. Microsoft doesn't talk about that very much. But as soon as your users start going, oh, this is cool, but I needed to do this. It's you either got to do a really good job of managing your customers, whether they be internal or external, managing their expectations and what can we do that's in the box. And I get that you might want that, but that's now moving into the realm of custom development. And that's a whole different level of what you pay and what you're going to need to do and licensing and skill sets that you're going to need as developers. Like Gary over here, pro.NET developer, who probably builds up some pretty cool extensions onto the Power Apps if he wants to do stuff that Power Apps isn't really
doesn't have out of the box, right?
Doesn't do out of the box. But he's going to charge a hell of a lot more than a low code developers.
Well, and then
in theory,
Gary, what comes for Gary? It's like, well, while they're doing that, speaking of low code, is it low code if you ask the GitHub Copilot, write this code and make sure it's got unit tests and make sure it's documented? And it does it. Is that low code because it just wrote it for you? Because you only typed in one sentence in proper English?
Well,
is that code going to work is a real question.
Well,
one, is it going to real question? What I've
then
been,
you can ask it. It's like, this code doesn't work. And tell me why. And it'll like do that also. It's the same. Is that low code because you did less, right? Or is it still? I'm going to call. That's why I say low code is everyone's a professional, so pro, I guess. My point with that is the less that you have to do with, and you have a framework to do it around. That's the low code. Right? Because otherwise, if I write 2 lines of script and it does a million things, yeah, that's low code because I have 2 lines versus your 180,000 line XML file or whatever that is configuration. That was low code because you just uploaded it. That's still high, a lot of stuff, right? So the idea is like it's really easy to go from one to the other, but to realize that one and the other still code. You're still getting there. The destination's the same. It's the tools you use. And it's the idea is to find the appropriate tool.
yeah, the appropriate tool. I will also say the knowledge to know.
And
That
now
he should be writing unit tests.
Yes, when to use the appropriate tool, when to do it. Well, you should always write unit tests, but
Yeah, but if I've got a low code person that was just, pick on person, but just moved into from finance and
Yeah.
wanted to create her own little
no,
tool.
then you wouldn't see there's
Which
like
you
there's
know.
cases where you wouldn't have to go through that level. Again,
Well, I'm just
If
saying
you're doing
I've
an
been there.
enterprise app, you probably want to, but if you're doing a personal productivity or you need the POC, dispense with it.
But organizations are being sold on the fact that it's low code and I can just take and throw I can take an enterprise.
Now,
app
there's the
and
problem, right? The selling point of like, oh, the low code, I have something that's really good, and then it'll work for the enterprise. Whoa, we didn't say that. He said, yes, it can, but for the enterprise, just like high code that you worry about, you have to have your enterprise level of process.
Checks and balances,
Checks and balances, exactly right.
but we got a hand raised in the audience.
Yes, we got a hand. That's right.
Yes.
Yes, we do talk about that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We will.
So we were talking about the back end stuff, all the admin stuff.
With the governance.
Yeah, we're
Yes,
just,
so.
we're throwing a softball, so somebody would ask that question.
That's
We're not
a
there.
softball question actually for us, because you're in like this with that. The so-called Center of Excellence starter kit. Just remember, 2 words in it, starter kit. If you have the starter kit installed in your place and it's still called the starter kit months later, you have not done what it wants you to actually do. The point is, the starter kit is get you started and you're supposed to customize it. If you just leave it there and don't do anything with it, you haven't learned anything, or you're not really using it, or you're not sure how you're actually using it. The starter kit has improved in the powers and everything else, but for the most part, they're not changing anything because its whole purpose is to inspire
All right.
people to use it. Now, people are using it for actual enterprise stuff, but that's not really what it was meant to do, especially because it doesn't handle that much data. There's all kinds of ways to handle it. They tell you how, they give you some instructions. The whole point of the starter kit, once you go down that path, once you learn that framework, open it up and start messing with it. Start seeing what you can do to play with it. In fact, if you want to learn how to do a Power Platform enterprise solution, remember, it's open source. Open it up, look what it does, look how it does it, move some things, see what happens, break some things, enjoy, as they say, and you'll actually learn something from it because there's actually good coding styles in it and actually good enterprise architecture in it as well. Just a thought for the, that's my big thing for the COE.
Yes.
We'll tell Manuela, send me a check.
Oh, yeah.
Manuela.
We'll cover that when we get to that, but
We can,
yes. And then, because I don't know how much that just sounds like gibberish to some of these people.
perhaps. We'll answer any question. If you have a question, like, what did you say, Ralph?
Let's get the power automate.
Yes.
Let's we gotta move a little bit faster because we've been slow.
Oh, Power Automate. What's the biggest thing over here? Besides, again, Copilot bringing it in made a big difference. The Copilot over here actually was, to me, more successful in Power Automate early than it was for Power Apps.
Yes.
That's just an opinion. It just, I've seen it in action where it seems to work much better at doing something from here in creating pieces. I've actually used it for actual stuff where people said, yeah, I'm now actually using this for work. Okay, so that's one part.
The UI
second thing
changed.
is the UI change over here. They changed the UI to Studio. They moved the cheese. This is again, big time cheese moving. For the folks that were used to like the dynamic drop down, that was that little drop down, all of a sudden it's not there. If you were very used to using it, the new experience takes a lot of getting used to, frankly. If you've been using Power Automate for like 2-3 years, the new one will be more culture shock. If you just started learning it and it's like, they just moved it. Okay, I'm fine. You shouldn't be a problem. But the ones for a while, like myself, I was like, I like where's my IntelliSense? Doesn't seem to be where it is. It's just not what it's doing. And then they said, just ask the Copilot to do it. But no, I don't feel like asking the Copilot. I have to get used to asking the Copilot or just know it, right? Make it happen. But the Studio is actually cleaner. If you want to make like documentation from it, it actually looks nicer for printing, just saying.
And on the back end, there's more monitoring and things like
Yes.
that, so you can tell what the flow's doing, because that's what there was a lot missing on that. What I don't really like, and this is something that's not talked about, is if your flow fails, nobody really gets notified other than the admin or the owner of the flow on a weekly email. So
Unless you add your own controls or unless you use there's another COE kit out there. It's called the automation COE. That's another kit you can download, again, free, but it's different. It's not like the COE, the regular one, and it's not meant to necessarily replace something in the COE kit.
And COE stands for Center of Excellence.
Yes,
I don't know if we've said that.
this one is just specifically for helping out with flows, and that's one of the problems it solves. It looks out for flows that have gone awry, flows that have gone rogue or died
Yeah.
on you.
So what a lot of people who are new to Power Automate don't know is you can create a branch in Power Automate that only goes if the flow completed successfully. So if you click on there's a 3 little ellipse, you can set up, so what happens if the flow fails, if it times out, if it does something else, right? Or what happens if it gets to a decision point and fails? Then you need to error handle and write, okay, notify somebody, or do something to, so some people to know. And I've had a lot of,
But people
New
don't normally
developers.
build it. They don't know when to build it though.
Yeah.
I have noticed the latest Copilot stuff will actually put it in.
right,
The latest, not the original Copilot, but now you have to watch out for it. If your Copilot doesn't do it, tell the Copilot, put in the error check in there.
which is fine if I'm just building an app because I want to make myself, I'm doing some stuff in SharePoint and I want to get notified if somebody updates it, sends me an email, or if I want to create a simple little form for my department. But when you start taking these to the enterprise-wide scale,
Yeah,
right,
now,
you need to fully think about what's going to happen at each point of this flow if it fails. Who's going to get notified? What are we going to do about it? And if you don't, then that thing could fail hundreds of times before somebody goes, hey, I was expecting to get a report or an email notification, that is something that I've been seeing more and more is my developers don't even know that you need to do that.
So as they say, something to learn. By the way, the level up from that is case management and dynamics. Basically takes it to the enterprise level. And of course, if Flow can't handle it, guess what Flow's are working on? It's working on Azure. There's always your logic apps and everything else. Remember, there's always a path.
Yeah, I know some of the challenges we run into with Dynamics on, everybody wants to do a Power Automate, it's automated. But then, you're on a forum, you trigger that Power Automate
Yes.
and getting a screen refresh, right? If you're
Yes.
expecting a response, you're expecting some fields update, you get users having to hit refresh 5, 6, 7 times in order to get the result because there's things going on in the background.
Exactly. So it's one of the things, it's like, when the systems that we're doing it before, or the systems under the covers, you can build it to essentially account for that. Otherwise, it's a case of educating. Sometimes it's like, well, we can't afford that kind of thing. But if we just tell people, you know what, just wait a minute, or you can pay me $1 million. How about that? Okay, I'll wait a minute. I think, right. I'll wait a minute. That's okay. All right, what do we got here? Oh, the Power Automate Copilot, you're showing it in action?
Yeah, well, semi.
Cool. Hey, you have an animation. Where'd you get this?
From Anthony.
Oh,
Anthony threw it in there.
duh.
He says launch a Copilot sub, 50% increase in speed to create and a 70% reduction in errors. No, you cannot have it. It's not in our slide deck.
Oh, I like this one.
It is in our slide deck, Ralph. You can get it.
Look at that. Start and wait for the approval. Oh, okay. I see what you did. By the way, that's a new, one of the newer Power Automate things that they added. The approval workflow has been improved. Approval improved. Yes.
The approval kit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The approval kit.
I haven't worked on that yet, yeah.
Oh, I saw that the other day.
Because that's probably the most common thing people want to use in that. You want to use the let's just say the package. All right, what do we got? We got
More information on that, just talking.
More Power Automate desktop, the public preview bits for Copilot, of course.
Oh, desktop flow.
The desktop flows.
I think the big one here is like custom prompts. Now that you're able to use custom prompts, I think it's a big piece here. Predefined prompts as well.
Yes.
In terms of templates for Power Automate desktop. Those are the big ones that really came out, I'd say, this year is getting started, became a lot easier.
So Power Automate desktop is the quote unquote, when people say RPA, they usually mean this guy. And here's several things about it. One, it has to run on a machine because it's got to touch something. It could run on your machine free. It could run on someone else's machine, or the cloud will tell it to run. Then you pay the premium. That's your big money. It gets bigger money like that because you could run in the VM somewhere. Or wait, even better. For $250, Microsoft will do it for you on their infrastructure and everything else. Runs on their VM and they'll scale it to whatever it is, but you got to pay $250 a month for that one flow. Okay. Is it worth it? Yeah, because $250 is somebody's billing rate for 1 hour somewhere. The same, might be worth it. But the idea again over here is that it has to run somewhere. And what people don't realize over here is that wherever it's running, say it's working fine on my machine. I'm making the flow run on that machine. It doesn't work. Well, Do you have the same stuff installed, same version? All of those things you got to worry about for that still is the issue. But now the Copilot can tell you, yes, it's okay. And of course, with GitHub, you can package things now.
Yes.
Terraform. Okay.
Power Pages.
Power Pages. Oh, okay. They have Copilot here too. So this one I tried out the Copilot for actually creating the pages, and it does a pretty nice job and brings in nice pictures, make things happen.
So I'm gonna say, take a step back. Power Pages, for you that don't know, it is creating
Oh,
basically a website or a portal that runs with the dynamics on the back end. So
well,
that you, or you,
yes,
Uverse, not Uverse, Dataverse.
Dataverse.
Dataverse on the back end, sorry. So you can make a Power App, like if you wanted to do something external facing, like I've seen governments take it where they could do like a permit request and they build out a little website in it and then the data gets stored there and somebody can come in and check on that kind of thing. So more taking Power Apps and making it more universal as a web page. That whole concept, they started a year or two ago.
They started, it was.
It kind of
just
sucked
before
until,
COVID. It wasn't
until
that
this
good.
year, I will
I
say.
think it was the COVID, I think COVID actually made it improve because they started giving it out to communities and municipalities who wanted to like pass around tests or like report and everything else. They wanted an external facing, but still with Dataverse and all the powers and a much easier licensing model. Because if you're using a Power App, right, you need to have a premium license if you want to touch that. If I'm using a model-driven app, same thing, right? However, if I have a portal, a web page, I'm now paying like for accessing how many people that are authenticated, how many people unauthenticated or anonymous can come in to use it. So you have a different pricing model that makes it cheaper for those folks to come in. Now, and oh, here's the other thing. Because it's a portal, web-based, I could potentially now bring in web developers to do stuff over here. All of a sudden, oh wow, the web developers, they're
It
back
became
in,
a
they're back in business.
first-class citizen in the. this
Yeah,
year.
they became a first-class citizen. In fact, when Power Pages came out, the first thing they did for it was to say that they were developer first. In other words, because they knew that HTML and all those other skills are going to come back for it, they made it much easier to, and they created the studio for those folks to work on it right away. When you're working in Power Pages and click on a button to edit it, it opens up Visual Studio Code directly or Visual Studio Code, vscode.dev, the website, right? And you're actually working in that particular process. So that was actually really powerful. And that is one other thing that this can do. It has a feature for a chatbot. You can add a chatbot to your code. And what chatbot? Anything that you build in Power Automate. Put it in, and that chatbot will have the powers of that.
Power Copilot Studio.
Yes. Oh, that's the Copilot Studio.
Yeah.
Well, that you wrote in Copilot Studio, Power Virtual Agents. Yes. But basically that chatbot, because it's just a URL, all you have to do is put a URL in there. If you built your chatbot on another tech, again, it's just a URL.
Yeah,
As long as it talks the API, it'll work. That's the fun thing. So anyways, Power Pages got some Copilot, and Power Pages.
It really became a first class.
It's part of
It's in the Power Platform. Before that, it wasn't that good.
And they stopped,
And
they removed all the portal references already.
it fell under Power Apps and Power Apps Portal and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go next page.
Next page. AI Builder. Ooh. Where do we start with AI Builder? Okay, AI Builder, other than the fact that they added a whole bunch more capabilities, I think the biggest one was they added the generative AI stuff to this now. It's now in there. It wasn't preview, it was hard to get to, but now that's actually in there to actually use. They've actually made this worth something.
Yeah, it used to be when it first rolled out, the only thing that you could do is really extract from a certain document. You had a very limited use case of what you could
things
do.
or something like that.
Yeah,
That's not what they
7.
have now.
Well, no, when it first came out, there was 4.
That's
Like you
right.
could read contact cards, and now there's like 20 some odd different use case scenarios.
And there's more coming in. Technically speaking, you can use your Copilot Studio now to build AI Builder pieces potentially. That's what's coming. That's their idea at least.
Yes.
All right, let's continue. AI Builder, again, extension of the AI stuff.
Oh, yeah, so hold on.
Next.
I'm going. The problem is the monitor's on the wrong side and I didn't change it.
You must click it.
So.
Oh, yeah, so that's what I talked about, the create text. This one, of all the AI Builder stuff, this was sitting in preview forever. I was enjoying it, and then they kept taking it away from me, and they kept giving it back. And I'm like, I want it. It's always in preview, but now finally it's for all to use.
But it does do a really good job of like, you can train it to read invoices and pull information off it, enter it into Dynamics through using a Power Automate. It is actually a nice little
Right.
tool.
But this is essentially your
This is
open
great
AI
text.
interface,
Yeah,
right? So you could have done, you can also do the Copilot Studio to do exactly this, but this is the AI builder, so it's built in so you can add it quickly to another process.
and there's a lot of connectors that go into Power Automate, so it works hand in hand with Power Automate Lab.
Indeed.
This one we talked a little bit about.
Yeah, so we keep to bring this one up, the Copilot Studio. The
So-
Copilot Studio,
Originally, this would have been a Power Virtual Agent slide, but
yeah.
that was the big thing. They rebranded it.
This one, I can say literally has changed every single month this year. Something different, something added. I think I've been talking to Dwayne, probably one of the project managers for this over here. I was talking to him a lot this year about these changes coming in ahead of time. They had like a whole bunch of changes that they mentioned during the MVP summit that we couldn't talk about back then. But it was like, how are you gonna like introduce all those changes all at once? They didn't. They literally staggered them out as they're going through. But as far as I know, all of those are now in, every single one. But yet there's still more stuff to come, apparently. We're gonna see.
Hold on, I gotta fix my slide.
You got a slide issue?
Yeah, I got a slide issue.
Slide issue. He's going to solve it live.
Let's hide this front part.
Oh, okay.
That should do that.
Oh, wow,
Ah.
you changed it live. Look at that. Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you did. You put that stuff on top. That was the old bits.
Yeah, that was.
All right. So anyways, they'll get a copy of this. So forward.
Hold on, I'll get back
Just
to
click
it.
on the thing, should be fine.
I know. I
That's
just,
leak.
so that
Oh,
was.
your animations
I
go.
had animations. So now there's a dashboard too.
The
that you
Copilot
didn't-
dashboard.
You didn't see.
Now, they had, the Copilot dashboard is something that a lot of people asked for because you had to go look in different places for it. But essentially, it's now your statistics. Here's the thing about anything with Copilot or anything AI. It doesn't work if there's no feedback loop. The feedback loop is very important for AI in general. If AI just works by itself and there's no follow-up, no reporting, no rating against it, it's going to continue doing what it's doing. And the things that you might have heard about, hallucinations and all those other things, will definitely happen. People have to constantly watch these guys.
I like this guy. So when you go in the first time, it'll set it up for you.
Oh, yeah, and he's changed.
Okay.
Remember when he started, he was a big box? He
Yeah,
was the box robot. Now he's the,
this was today.
Now
I
he's the
screen
ball
captured this today. So this is new.
Yeah.
As of today, this is what he looks
now
like.
he's a pill.
And you
Pill
see him
guy.
there, he'll take you through a little tutorial about how
So
to,
they were the box
Set it
bot
up.
and then it's the pill bot now. Okay,
I like him. I'd get that as a tattoo.
he's nice.
Anthony, you added this slide. Anything you want to talk about this?
It's the same thing.
More so adding on top, the name change and
Yeah,
everything that kind of comes with it.
just drawing it here.
Yep.
Oh, what? There was more animation.
Was there more in?
PBA, would that show up in Copilot Studio now?
Say it again?
Anything you may have built in PBA, will that
Yep.
show up in Copilot?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Just the name change for the most part, and then some extra connectors and plugins that allow you to enhance your other copilots. Yep.
Okay, actually, so the conversation booster that we're talking about over here is one of the first things that came out this year. And when they started making PBA in becoming Copilot Studio, started becoming fancy, where you can put in a website, any website, anything, and it would do a conversation boost. We could have done it manually. All we do is have to tell it, okay, for conversations that don't fit, here's an HTTP call to this website and basically connect to it with OpenAI to point to it, and then let OpenAI language model return the information from it. Well, you don't have to do that. You can just go straight to the Power Automate and put it in there. And you can only do one website originally. Now you can add more.
But you can only go one level.
Oh, well, we don't know how deep. Right now,
So it used to be, you can only have one web in there, couldn't go any more than, I don't know.
oh, so remember the original one where it was looking for topics? Remember that idea? It was looking for topics, and yeah, it would be limited. It could barely do it. And in fact, it would crash on me. Every time I tried to point to learn that Microsoft account, it would get mad. And then I pointed over here, and then it stopped getting mad. It gave me answers. Probably the large language model did its thing, and I have no idea how deep or less deep because the answers were what they were. It doesn't tell you, by the way, I only went one level deep for this. It doesn't tell you that.
I was looking for jobs, now I want civil jobs. Looking for jobs and like, couple of recruiters, I didn't really care about those interviews.
Uh-huh.
So I built a PPA, I pointed it to test out a new website feature, I pointed it to my profile on my company's website.
Uh-huh.
And I said, look, I'm out of town where I'm out of country. You can talk to the PBA and it will tell you all you need to know about me. Then when I get back, we can have a conversation. I did not expect them to, we, do you want to talk to a chat? They actually came back, now let's talk. This.
Yeah, no,
Now, how about that? See, and there's the idea, but now you can add more than one website, and now you can add like your SharePoint lists and other things. Basically, though, with OpenAI, and they had the ways of compiling, they call it RAG, essentially, where you're doing, you're basically prepping your data and putting in the pieces before it. And that's what this is. That's what the conversation booster really is, what it is. And then you'd have to add your other pieces, because it's Copilot Studio, you can now add what you used to have to do the hard way, the other parameters to your bot. So it's nice to play with.
yes. So,
Speaking of nice to play with,
so I'm just gonna change the slides behind you. Is that, that's the playing music.
you're not playing music. Okay, so Dataverse, oh my gosh. Dataverse has come from the case of like, well, we're not sure if we're really gonna use Dataverse. Is Dataverse secure and everything else? I said, are you using Cloud Platform? Yes. It's Dataverse under the cover. We're not using the Dataverse. Well, do you have solutions? Yes, that's Dataverse. How do you think it's keeping its information? How do you think it's talking to each other? All that stuff, it's under the covers, the core technology is Dataverse, whether you use it or not, it's there. Why not have control of it? If you're going to do something enterprise level, okay, if you're not going to use Dataverse, then if you're going to do it in SQL, then you're going to have to build all that infrastructure to make it be at least as good as Dataverse if you want to be in compliance with whatever it is you're trying to do.
So what I added this slide more because I just love what it tells me, because as a consultant, when I'm talking to customers, I'm talking to their IT unit, it doesn't happen quite as much anymore, but they'll ask about Dataverse. Oh, we want to use Dataverse, and everybody wants to know, well, where's your data live? What is it, right?
How does it work?
How does it work? And up until I saw this, or, I got deep into it, it was like, it's just Dataverse. It's kind of like Dynamics.
Some people used to say, oh, it's SQL,
Yes,
a butler SQL. And that
Yeah.
used to be my line, like, hey, but if it's a butler for SQL, then your butler is Alfred Pennyworth and you're Batman, basically, right? That's the kind of butler that it is, but it's actually way more than that, because you're looking at the Batcave over here with all the toys.
so this is a great slide. If somebody asks you what it is, you can say it does all. It's the behind the scenes. It's running on Azure, and it's doing a whole lot of stuff. It's just making it easy for you to access data.
All right, it's okay to jump in. We're using Amazon spot anyway.
And then
Where's Dataverse fit? Yes, low code, IT driven. Now, again, people are using Dataverse again for the Power Platform apps, but also for Power BI, for the pure data play. Now, again, it's appropriate tech for the appropriate piece. Dataverse on its principles has a bunch of frameworks around it. It works within an environment, a Power Platform environment, which means permissions and everything else work in that particular way. If your data does not work that way, your data are in lakes, they're all over, you have to put things together.
it's highly transactional.
It's highly transactional. That's where then you're not working in the appropriate area. Now you got to move up to Fabric, to the places out there, to Synapse, to those other places as well, to be able to put it together. But when you come down, at least focused towards an application or a solution, that's when the Dataverse stuff comes in.
And then if you haven't, for those people who haven't seen, this is kind of how you look through your data. Just wanted to throw that in there. So.
Yeah. Data driven.
David?
Nope.
Oh, we're talking about governance.
So here's the governance stuff. Well, this is a busy slide.
I like this slide though.
You like this slide? This is busy.
I love busy
All
slides.
the admin stuff all in one place.
Yeah, so security, like this is just a good reference slide for everybody.
Yeah.
On how you need to think about security and governance within.
Oh,
Power
yeah.
Platform.
The busy stuff.
And there's just, I don't know how you would say, they've been just rolling out ways to do things better, to do more efficient. And this slide's got a lot, so. I've got a
All
lot
right,
of
tools
these.
for governance, exactly right. So again, they're trying to make the Power Platform Admin Center do a lot more to keep adding functionality to it. But there's one thing that's never going to happen. The COE is never going to go away. There's always going to be something in the COE that will never be here, and that's not appropriate for here. And there might be some things from the COE that find their way here, but not in the form that you think. They're going to come in sometimes differently.
So do you want to explain what the COE is?
The COE, the Center of Excellence Starter Kit.
Yes, and where that came from?
Where did that come from?
The PowerCat team.
Yeah, PowerCat is the customer advisory. What is it, customer advisory?
Customer advisory team. That's what it
Yeah,
says.
that's what they were.
Yes.
For Power Platform. They were the original ninjas for the Power Platform, getting this stuff out there. Now
Yeah,
they-
so
they're
what
getting it
happened
out.
was the Power Platform Admin Center, that's where you kind of manage everything that's going on in theory, but it left so much to be desired as far as monitoring and being able to tell what was going on in your system, who was building on it, what apps were where. So they got together and they created this Center of Excellence they call Starter Kit, which actually is a giant Power App that lives in your platform and kind of searches, got flows that run out and search everything going on in your environment and reports it back and allows you to monitor what's going on.
And it includes some apps to actually do something about it. Like say you have orphan apps, it'll, in one click of a button, you can reassign them quickly to somebody. As quarantining, so somebody builds an app and they'll get an email, hey, nice app you got here. It's a shame if it wasn't, compliance with our policies, that's a customization I actually built into one thing. The idea was that they gave you ideas on how to put those things together because the admin center was going to do it. Here was the other thing.
They
This
could
is
also,
Microsoft product stuff, which means, what's this, if you remember the cycle for Microsoft product releases, it's usually the 6-month level. The so-called monthly releases are are you bleeding edge? Are you dangerous? You'll get the monthly cycle. The COE works in a monthly cycle. And if you don't update it every 3 months, you're in danger of it breaking. And the next time you try to update it, basically it's going to say, oh, when was the last time you updated? 4 months ago. You're going to have to reinstall.
but if you're serious about governance in your organization and monitoring what's going on.
Yeah, then you're using it and you're
You need-
maintaining
you
it
need it.
regularly. All right, what else we got?
That's,
More Power Platform stuff. Oh, the COE. Oh,
yeah, that's
COE
kind of a
dashboard.
screenshot of
Oh,
the
guess
COE.
what? COE dashboard is a Power BI.
Yes.
No surprise.
So you can actually create your own custom tools and custom reports and, so it's a starter kit.
So this is where I leverage, Power BI reports I take them from the COE. I'm like, there's one that already connects this information. I'm gonna
Yes.
take it.
But if there's something in your
All right.
organization that you don't see on there and you need that data and the data's in there, you can create your own reports.
Now, if you want to learn how to talk to Power Automate stuff, Power Platform stuff, open up one of these dashboards, look underneath the covers, the connectors, the data model, how it's put together. Oh, ideas.
And one part of it is they also have the new tenant
Oh, the
adaption.
developer compliance center. Well, that's part of the kit.
That's part of
I
the
did talk
kit too,
about
but to enable your developers and.
It's a shame that your app is not in compliance. Yep. What else is in there?
This is just talking about environments.
Yes.
So they've gotten really better. We've talked a couple times about
So
moving between the
in
environment.
preview now is the advisor environment, and there's going to be an admin advisor. So clearly with the Copilot, the most obvious thing is like, hey, Copilot, tell me what's the best environment strategy for me right now. And then the concept of that is there's Copilot looking at your current environment, looking at all that data that's in there in large language ready form and saying you're probably best having more environments or spread out, or you could do with a managed environment over here. That's the goal that they're getting to.
And ALM accelerator for moving things around.
Well, that's the, and
part of it.
if you want ALM fast, well, now you don't need that. Now you can do pipelines and managed services.
Oh, we got pipelines, but that still
Yeah.
exists. There's pipelines.
Yes, it was there before. It was there before.
Explain pipelines.
Yeah, pipelines, again, moving your solution from one to the next area.
And if you're new to Power Platform, you don't understand
For the folks that do DevOps, that's what they call it, or essentially,
how big of a pain in the ass that was till up to this year.
yep.
So, managed environments, that's your thing.
Yeah, so I was talking about managed environments. Again, in this particular case, the visibility, the control, less effort. The idea was you paid for your ride, now get on, and we'll take care of you. And it's really, really easy to set up. By the way, did you know that if you, and unless they turn it off in the organization, that everyone can have up to three developer environments where you have full powers. In other words, you can do any kind of premium-y stuff as long as they stay in there. You're not allowed to share it. You just stay in there. And the reason why they give you 3, so you can practice DevOps and make your own little pipelines between the 3. Pretend that you're pushing to production or test, but it's all pure developer environments. Everyone usually has that. How do you find out? When you open up Power Apps or Power Automate, look for the gear, click on that, look for Admin Center, click on that. If it lets you get to the Admin Center, then means they've probably, it's going to say yes. Then click on Environments, and chances are you're only going to see, you might see nothing, which means you have no access to touch anything. But then when you click on New and you select Developer, and if it lets you do it, ta-da! Don't tell anybody, but Microsoft just gave you.
And you mentioned this part off, but just if you're using a managed environment.
Ah, yes, so managing the concept of standard versus everything becomes all apps become premium. Again, the main reason for that is because they need Dataverse underneath to control things. If you want to use environment variables, which says I go from environment to environment, and I need to connect and talk to Dataverse to get information from it to do stuff, you have made it a premium app, period.
That's
What do we got here? Governance and scale. Okay.
This was an Anthony slide.
It's an Anthony slide. Oh, I know this one, yes. Basically, again, the idea of the whole point is you can do this at a big scale and you don't have to manage it. I guess that's really what this is about. Not much over here unless you're in the enterprise level.
Anything to add, Anthony? You threw it in. I know you love
Well,
it.
yeah, the new thing that's coming out is that second public preview.
I think it's the advisor. Well, I talked about the advisor here.
Yeah, monitoring and adapting with advisors. The advisor is going to be able to give you like real-time feedback for your tenant. As a, an admin of, let's say,
Sorry, I'm rolling the wrong way.
you'd be able to see all the apps that do not have somebody that currently owns them, if somebody's left the company or whatever the case might be. A lot of those same kind of things you would get from the COE, they're building into the the governance at a tenant scale here. So I think the biggest thing for me is that advisor. I'm like, no way they're giving that away for free. So I don't understand how they're going to make that happen just yet. It's free, so it is what it is. But I'm just surprised.
We're almost done.
Yeah, we're almost done. The last thing I think we have is data integration. So
On data integration, really CDS?
I don't know. It was an old slide. I just loved that it had all the connectors on it. I grabbed.
It's how I spot an old slide when I see CDS. Like,
So that's Dataverse. It used to be CDS.
CDS, Dataverse.
I didn't realize that this was an old picture. What I really like though is what it shows is all of the connectors that are here. They keep adding more. They're doing everything they can to make data easy to access.
I think this is like in a backhand way of saying, well, Fabric is now down there happening.
Sorry, I grabbed an old picture.
Question.
Yes.
Synapse. Is Synapse still playing a role? And the reason why I ask the question is, when Dynamics used to have, CRM, Azure Data Export Services, right? And that got replaced with Synapse, where you can configure, kind of auto synchronization, right? So a lot of people are doing data warehousing, the Power BI work on Synapse. Is that fit in the picture?
But a lot of it's the scale part of the picture in the most part, right? And if you're bringing in data from different sources, see, here's the thing. One of the big things that also disappeared in the news a little bit is their higher integration with ServiceNow with SAP. I think it's actually the SAP is the most surprising. They're partnered with them in almost a I'm going to say it's like a natural way, but they're together, SAP and Microsoft, working on these pieces over here. Because the idea is, if you want to make Dynamics stronger, and you have the SAP pieces, they will actually coexist now. And the pieces that sit in the middle are Synapse and those other pieces before you bring them in. They come up with better procedures, better processes, and better connectors that are more natural. They're working with SAP to make these things much more native and faster. So now, rather than say build your front end in SAP, people are preferring to build their front ends on Power Platform. SAP still lives in the background, still doing its own thing. You still need to have to pay for that. And SAP, of course, where are they running? They're running on Azure. Well, coincidence, right? But now you can use your front ends, your Dynamics front end, your model-driven front ends to talk to that system, because you couldn't do that before. You had to have Dataverse, you had to have all the pieces. Now you can, right? And now you can talk AI to them too, which is actually, if anyone ever gets a chance to take one of the training courses Microsoft gives with SAP, I would take advantage of that, because they include an AI section where they ask the AI to talk to SAP data. It's ridiculously scary.
And there's a little wizard for setting up data flows.
Wizard needs food.
For in the here.
Oh, the wizard. Oh, this we're talking this part. This is on Power. Sorry.
Data integration is
Oh,
for
the data flow wizard. Okay, sorry. The data flow wizard. This is just ETL, really. Data flow is just ETL. At the end of the day, what is data flow? It's
Just making it
Yeah.
easier to do.
Enterprise transfer stuff, if you're moving data from here, you're putting it in the place where you can use it. As opposed to, and people might have heard of virtual tables. Virtual table in Dataverse is I'm pointing to SQL or SharePoint or an Excel. And I'm using Dataverse. It looks like Dataverse tables. So I can actually do updates to it. It goes through Dataverse. It might be a little slower but it still will work. And I can now make a model-driven app from my SharePoint list. I can make a model-driven app from my Excel list or from my SQL list. And they keep adding more abilities. And I believe SAP is the other one that they added to that.
So they had the big
Oh, the
recaps.
conference.
That's recapping what happened a year. They had the October 23 Power Platform Conference. Well, go
Yes,
with that.
I remember. I think I have a vague memory of Vegas.
Those were four of the bigger things to come out.
We still remember Vegas? We don't talk about Vegas.
This is your slide.
You know not to talk
They
about
got
these.
links to some of the stuff in there that you would be interested in.
Yeah, so there's some, right now, you know what's cool about this? They actually posted for everyone to see the demos that they did over here. You gotta watch this, you know, the ones to actually watch of all of them, watch the GitHub demo. The GitHub guy came out, remember that one? And he showed that one, and he created the snake game, and he did it in freaking 9 minutes.
Yeah.
The whole snake game, he posted it online, it was all ready, and I was like, all right. And talk about low code, and here I am for a Power Platform, and that, to me, that was the best demo, because I saw all the rest. I never saw that. I had to demo that one too.
Also, I don't have it up here, but the next dates for the next platform conference is already out.
That's in September, and then they're gonna have the M365, they're gonna cover Power Platform in the M365.
Conference.
So if you wanna go to Disney,
I'm
you know,
sorry. I
that's where to
submitted
go.
to speak.
Otherwise, Vegas,
Vegas is out there. Well,
Hey.
that's your slide.
yes, that's my slide. It's
Uh,
called The Community.
the community.
Folks, we are the community. This is part of it. The fact that Microsoft helps us out from time to time is, thank you so much. We're so happy for that. But in the end of the day, it's all about community. We think this is the best community in tech, the whole, not just Power Platform, but the M365, with what's called the PNP, the patterns and practices, folks. It really started off with, it was the SharePoint, the SPFX piece with Basic Human and company that started putting this together, and it expanded into Power Apps into all these other places. You want to learn something, you want to learn how to do GitHub, you want to know how to update Microsoft Docs.
You want to know what's the latest and stuff that's coming out. Go
Come to
to,
the community, they'll tell
come to
you.
the community site.
They have their own meetings, they have weekly meetings where you get to basically rub shoulders with other MVPs or Microsoft folks and talk about the tech in detail and ask the questions.
This is, if you want to keep up with the roadmap,
Oh, there is a roadmap, yes. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this one. Where's the link? Actually, maybe take a picture of that link, because that one's actually a good one. You know what they say? It's like, well, we didn't know this was coming. You know, sometimes the guy might think, oh, nobody told us.
it's out here.
They're telling everybody. They always tell everybody. In fact, they have a roadmap going in, and you can customize it to say, let me know when a certain thing happens.
And again, I will post this deck on the meetup.
Yeah.
By tomorrow morning.
Yes. So this one is actually, I think, one of the most crucial tools for those folks that need to know what's coming.
But if you do a search for roadmap, Power Platform roadmap, that'll be one of the first links. And then the second one,
But the release way, what's in it.
yeah, what's in the release?
But I think that's already pretty much an old link, because pretty much everything's out already on that.
And
All right, what we got here?
some deprecation stuff you should know.
The
I don't know.
applications, what's gone, the classic app view. The Entra users, oh man, these are very arcane. Maybe, again, go share the slides. I'm trying to see if there's anything over here.
There's nothing important, but just if you've been working in the platform for a while, you may want to know. something.
Again, for the folks that like be using it for a while and they move the cheese in a bad way, this is important, but for the most part, there's nothing over here that really hurts, frankly.
Yeah, it's not like.
Or should. What a show. Yes, we were at the show.
I know, we could do that. In
What do we have here? Here are some more links we're going to pass along for you. The April Dunham series on the AI co-pilots and everything else. There's episode 1 to start with. I believe she's going to be up to 20 episodes by now,
Yes.
by the time we have with this. Highly recommended.
And if you're building anything in Power Apps and you're not following Shane Crow's,
Well, there's Shane Cows.
Shane Cow's,
Shane, there's Mr. Shane, 911, Power Apps 911. Also great, Good instructions, good stuff.
but, I didn't have him in
Who
mind,
else?
but Reza Durrani,
Folks, Reza Durrani on Mike, he's in Microsoft, Daniel Laskowitz
Daniel.
in Microsoft, a bunch of those folks.
So those. But Shane Coles has got like he's got hundreds of
And
videos.
free training, usually the app in a day stuff, or you'll see like in a day, RPA in a day or something else. Pragmatic also has those.
And to wrap it up,
And we wrap it up. We ask any question. Believe it or not, I will answer the L word questions.
licensing,
Something with it, even the Microsoft people, when they hear, oh, the L word. Keep the room quickly if they can.
I want to back it up.
Yes, you have a question.
Yes, I do have a question. So for a while, I've been trying to learn how to use a creator kit, because it's very easy to do, but I just haven't really
The creative kit, that extra that comes with the COE, yes.
about it. And so, you talked earlier about UI UX
Changes,
updates, and
yes.
so those, does that mean that I don't really need to learn how to use the creator kit?
No, in fact, good that you're learning the creator kit.
Okay,
Because mainly, if you want to implement changes before those UI changes come in, you have the opportunity to do so with the Creator Kit. The Creator Kit is aware of the new fluent tools. So say, for example, what you want to do, maybe some of the modern controls are there, but some are not. I need to make it work. So you can use the Creator tool to like make them match up for now. Maybe later you can say, well, now that they match up, maybe I'll just use their tool instead. And then you can look at it and say, do I feel like using a tool? Makes no difference. I'll keep it. I'm done. But that's the idea of the Creator Kit. The Creator Kit really replaces the themes. Remember, they had themes in there, but themes, they're not going to, by the way, push forward with themes. Themes is end of life, or that's going to go. Creator Kit is not yet end of life. So it could be that maybe the Creator Kit is going to find its way back into the main system for folks to be able to do. So keep up the Creators Kit show, what I can tell you.
thank you.
Sure. Good question. It's an arcane tool. So there's all these little things, like when they create a tool, are they gonna keep using this tool and they need another tool that does something like it? Which one are we supposed to use? And they don't usually, sometimes they don't say this. The COE has a monthly, what's called office hours. By the way, a lot of Microsoft products will have what's called office hours. That's something new, this last year. The COE starter kit has office hours. Maybe we should put that link in there for that one, for the office hours ones, how to get the office hours.
I will.
There's one for automation, there's one for dev, there's one for the other pieces as well. And in them, the actual creators of that tech from Microsoft will be there to answer questions. And maybe sometimes they'll put up surveys. Hey, what would you like to see next? Right? And then they'll actually do that sort of stuff. Like Manuela and Jennifer are always at the COE starter kit one. And to have the actual people that create it, and when you say, I'm trying to do this, but it's not working. Oh yeah, that's a bug. And they'll tell you their experience with it and what the issue is. All right,
Yeah. I think
that's a
we're
good one.
just-
And so we have some links over here again for the user groups and for LinkedIn.
So to find more Power Platform user groups, that's kind of, I mean, the other ones are just our stuff, just if you haven't had them. But there are more virtual.
More virtual groups out there. There's an admin virtual.
So-
Yeah.
There's one in Australia. I mean, they're all over the country, but on my website, and then I'll
As
put
long
those
as there's a link.
I have like a list of things on my website that need to
All
update.
right.
Other than that, something else that I would add, because we've been talking about totally outside of the Power Platform, but we got a bunch of new people here and we have a bunch of young people here. Getting to user group meetings when you can, networking with people. If you want to present, if you've done an app that you think is cool and you want to do it, let us know. We're always looking. Anthony talked about going to other user groups and speaking. A lot of user groups.
A lot of them will take volunteers to come in. They don't always like have to have an MVP or somebody with quote unquote credentials. In fact, remember I talked about the Power Platform community where they said the M365 community, they encourage people to simply submit and come in. In fact, they will give you mentors if you've never presented before. They will actually help you out. They'll give you an expert speaker to present online to essentially the global world, your app. And boy, when they make hay what you did, they do. You get a lot of recognition from that. And your LinkedIn looks really good afterwards.
I will say Twitter used to be a good place to go.
X.
Now, it's not as, I don't find it as good as it used to be. LinkedIn, if you've got some
LinkedIn is a
stuff doing.
professional area. I think that is more to me, that's, if you are in professional mode, that's the place. Just saying.
Yeah, well, Twitter used to be a good, hey, I've got an issue with this, and somebody would answer you, but now there's a lot of people who moved off that platform.
Yeah.
Doing blogs, just getting yourself out there, meeting people, really good for your career. It's still, advancing
Yeah.
your career
Yeah.
is still who you know.
Power users.
Yeah,
If you're, let's say, if you're ubiquitous there, they have this new designation called super user. And I found out that if you become a super user, Satya himself signs a note for you.
oh, sweet.
I did not know that until I saw Mr. Etheridge get one. I'm like, you got Satya signed? Really? Can I use that in the bank? Just kidding. But see, that was cool that they actually take note of the folks that are answering or at least active in the forums. And here's the problem. We have our day jobs, right? It's really hard sometimes to balance, but especially, I think it's better for the folks that are learning. As they say, the best way to learn is to teach. Right? The teacher will always learn more. If you think about it, I'm a student. There's one teacher, one piece of communication. I'm a teacher. I have 40 students. I'm learning 40 times.
You'll have to get class questions, and you have to go look up the answers.
Well,
You
you have
can't
to
know
be
everything.
prepared because you never know. Sometimes they'll ask something that's like, thought of that before, but now I know. Now my knowledge has been added.
Where do
Yes.
you guys bring your QR codes? A big or no?
QR code?
Yeah.
Which one?
I just out of curiosity.
How do you create the QR?
No, no, no.
Oh,
Yeah, where did you create them?
What did you use?
QR code is the QR code in Edge.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, I wasn't sure, like, I haven't used it yet. I've seen other people use it, but knowing that it's accessible.
Edge, really simple. QR code, go to Edge,
Easier to
put it on the side, give me a QR code for it. I'd use my phone, same thing, works. It was
So
so,
in between the meetings, we can do user group meetings.
yes.
What's the best way to communicate with the members?
Usually as soon as you find our social media, that's the best way. Because the LinkedIn is probably the better, for if you want.
There's a bulletin board.
Some people might see it.
There's a bulletin board feature in Meetup. You can ask questions there. Not a lot of people do. There's also a LinkedIn group. That's on one of the slides.
Yeah, I was LinkedIn, but
We got to get better at it.
Oh, wow.